Aaron freaking Rodgers. What's up? Welcome to the four-man front. Grant Cohn, Ryan G. Hensley, Jessie, Naylor, the coach. We're essentially the Eagles defensive line of content creators. That's how we attack topics and discussions and difficult issues here on the four-man front. Today, we're talking Aaron Rodgers because apparently the Niners are expected to be in the running for him, and I don't exactly know why. The coach, Jessie, Ryan will explain to me, and then I'll tell them why I disagree. First, we're going to talk about the Super Bowl because it just happened. It's a few days ago, and I don't know what you guys think. So I'd love to know from your perspective, as Kyle was watching this unfold, a shocking display of athletics and dominance. What do you think the main takeaway Kyle, John, Jed took from that beatdown was? And I want Ryan to go first.
The main takeaway for them was we could have done that. That was their takeaway. It should be the trenches, as we've been screaming for years. That's what the takeaway should be. That they need to beef up their offensive line and their defensive line and win the game in the trenches. That should be the takeaway. I have my doubts. Like, we know what their philosophy is and how they approach at least the offensive line. In the past, they've had a good defensive line, so I know they're going to prioritize that. I don't think they think the offensive line is that much of a problem. Hopefully I'm wrong, and they invest in that as well. But that should be the takeaway. The trenches should be the takeaway from that game.
Jessie, you next to go in a clockwise fashion.
Yeah, it should be the takeaway. I think first and foremost, not only the 49ers, but the rest of the league should be encouraged, because had the Chiefs won, what do you think as an opponent of the Chiefs? Like, is this team beatable? Because seemingly this was supposed to be the 2 down years as they're trying to kind of retool. And if they had walked away with 2 Super Bowl victories, how demoralizing for the rest of the league. And what I love about Philadelphia winning is that they did it without an elite quarterback. I mean, say what you want about Hurts. He's definitely clutch at the very least, and he deserves his flowers, but he's not in that elite category. So the fact that a team won, beat the best quarterback in the NFL, one of the best quarterbacks of all time, and you did it without an elite quarterback, that should give the 49ers hope that the way that they're trying to build their roster can work. I would say the biggest thing is keeping on the quarterback position. How did Jalen Hurts' contract get structured? Because the way that it was structured has allowed Philadelphia to continue to build an elite team around him. So when it comes time to work out this contract with Brock Purdy, how are you going to structure that deal? Look at the Jalen Hurts deal. That's how you want to structure this thing so you can remain competitive as long as possible.
I like that. Coach.
For me, obviously the trenches stick out that we all saw. You know, this is by far the biggest offensive line in Super Bowl history, averaging 6'6", 325 pounds across the board, which I loved. But in my opinion, it's the run game. Philadelphia stuck to the run game. We're looking at 45 carries for 135 yards versus 11 carries for 49 yards. The Eagles understood their identity. They didn't shy away from it. They had a lot of plays where Saquon Barkley, outside of that 135 yards, he only averaged 2.3 yards a carry, 25 carries for 57 yards, right? And they still found a way to still give him 25 carries. That's what's impressive about that stat line to me. That would never fly in that would never fly in SF. It would never happen here, where a running back would be given the opportunity to rush the ball 25 times and only have 57 yards. Now, when you look at that in Niners world, right? That's not efficient. Why would Kyle do that? Those are dead numbers. But when you understand the context of what the run means during a game, when you're willing to commit to the run, when the defense knows they have to worry about the run, where you understand that, hey, running the ball, even though Saquon is not giving us the explosive plays that he customarily has given us throughout the season, a la the game against the Commanders, he's still a part of our offense. We can't abandon him and then pick up an entire brand new section of our offense that we do not do. That's not the element of who we are. I think that the Eagles were incredibly smart for keeping Jalen Hurts on the ground. Jalen Hurts pushing the ball forward in a lot of timely downs where he showed his legs. And one thing about them is I used to say this about the Bills, that I really love the Bills because the Bills leave no stone left unturned. They just win. They don't care what they have to do. You look at the AFC Championship game, the AFC divisional game that got them to the AFC Championship game, where you're going into the half and you see Josh Allen with only 5 attempts throwing the ball, and you're saying, man, these guys don't care. They're just trying to win. I saw that out of Philadelphia, and it's something that I would love to see replicated here, where we break out of the scheme. We stick to our identity. And that's why the Eagles beat the Chiefs today. Beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. It's because the Chiefs only ran the ball 11 times. The Eagles ran the ball down their throats, and they only averaged 3 yards a carry. But if you look at the context of the game, every yard mattered. So for me, it was the Eagles sticking to their identity, even in the face of having one of the best guys in the league running the ball at a Saquon Barkley. They could have said easily, right? Think about this. You let Kyle Shanahan be the head coach of the Eagles in that Super Bowl game, he automatically goes away from Saquon because the run isn't working. Automatically. He gets Kenneth Gainwell in the game. He starts trying to spread the ball out. He's trying to start figuring out other options, how to get on the outside, because he can't just push the easy button and get automatic yards out of Saquon. What did the Eagles do? What did Kellen Moore do? Right? They couldn't get the run going with Saquon. They started using him in the passing game. They started putting him in the flat. They started finding other creative ways to get them going. So for me, their identity, they stuck to who they were, and they ran the ball. And they didn't care about 1 yard, 2 yards. They understood that they were going to get paid for that in dividends down the game, down in the stretch. So that's what stuck out to me.
I like that. To me, what was so interesting about it is I feel like the Niners have been pacing themselves against the Chiefs forever. And that doesn't matter anymore. It's the Eagles. The Eagles are the team to beat. It's for the whole league. And the Niners, maybe that makes them feel good because they've beaten the Eagles and they've really done a good job against Jalen Hurts every time they faced him. The Chiefs haven't. The Chiefs get messed up by Jalen Hurts, but the Niners have kept Jalen Hurts in check mostly. They haven't faced Saquon Barkley on this team. They can't really stop the run right now, but I think from the Niners perspective, the question is how they match up with this Vic Fangio new look defense with this Georgia D-line, because I don't think the Niners can match up with that as currently constructed. If the Chiefs and their offensive line with Patrick Mahomes are just going to fold against that D-line, then what is Colton McKivitz and Jake Brendel and Spencer Burford going to do against that D-line? I don't think the Niners – I think Brock will get hurt against that team. I think the Niners, if they're serious about being contenders, you're going to face Philly in the playoffs. You got to really improve your offensive line this year. Otherwise, you can't even compete with that team. I know that the Commanders did a pretty good job moving the ball against that defense, but they have one of the most mobile quarterbacks in the league and a very different type of scheme than what the Niners have. I don't think the Niners can necessarily zone read and RPO their way to a win with Brock Purdy against the Eagles. They really need a good left guard, a good center, a good right tackle. And maybe that takes them 2 years. Maybe they can't compete with the Eagles next year, but that's the team to beat, Philly. And they're going to be the team to beat as long as Fangio's there and Jalen Carter's there and Cooper DeJean's there. That defense is super young and they're young. It's dominant. It's what you have to worry about primarily with the Eagles, as good as their offense is.
The whole team's young, really.
Yeah. And it's not about the player, and it's not about the individual players that they have on their offensive line and on their defense. It's the philosophy. It's what they're going to do, period. So, yeah, Jalen Carter's special, right? Jordan is special. Landon Dickerson, they're all special in their own right. but it's the fact that this is what they're willing to go get. They're going to go get the 6'6", the 6'5", 300 plus guy. They're going to make sure that they fit that avatar. We can't break out of that. We need to start understanding that this is the standard to win. You got to get trenches, man.
Okay, let's switch gears. The Niners have $50 million in cap space. They have like some of the most cap space in the league. But for the second year in a row, they have a bunch of players they need to extend. Brock Purdy, obviously. George Kittle, obviously. And then there's so many free agents. They want to bring back Greenlaw. They may not be able to bring back Hufanga. They're probably not bringing back Charvarius Ward. They're definitely not bringing back Javon Hargrave or Deebo Samuel. So given all of that, all the money the Niners have earmarked for their own players right now, how do they get better? Obviously, the draft is great. They have all those picks, but is there a way is there anything they can do, I guess, in free agency to actually move the needle? Because as they say, you're either getting better or you're getting worse. And last year they got worse while trying to stay the same.
I think first and foremost, you have to understand where you're at. And this is what worries me about the 49ers and potentially mortgaging the future is I feel like they are looking at this like it's still a Super Bowl or bust team. And I don't believe that that's where they're truly at anymore. But if you don't recognize that, then that means you're going to take the home run swing in free agency and forego the depth and maybe some draft picks and the long-term viability of being a contender. Really what they should have taken away from the Eagles, and I didn't want to use it in both segments, so I used something different last segment, is that you build through the draft. The Philadelphia Eagles in 2022 had a completely different top 5 pass rushers than what they had this year. They had 70 sacks in 2022. And I would argue this unit that they brought to the Super Bowl, no, they didn't have the statistics to back it up. But by the time they got to the Super Bowl, this unit was better than that.
Way better.
In the moment. I agree.
That D-line flopped against the Chiefs 2 years ago.
Yes.
In the moment,
and
they're better.
All of them. And all of them were drafted, and all of them were new. All of them were new. And I'm looking at them right now, and there was a graphic that was shown in the Super Bowl of the 3 guys that made the biggest impact for the Philadelphia Eagles in that game defensively. It was Sweat, it was Milton Williams, and it was Braun. All 3 of them are free agents. And I would not be shocked if they let all of them walk.
Right.
You know why? Because for Milton Williams, they drafted a Jomo 2 years ago. He's ready to slide in.
Right.
For Sweat, they drafted Jalix Hunt. He's ready to go.
Ready to go.
They already have the guys in the building to replace them. So they're not worried about it. And how did they do that? By sticking to the plan and year after year after year, adding to the depth, not being afraid to let guys walk. When you lose 2 Hall of Fame players like Fletcher Cox and Kelsey, literally in back-to-back years, those are the heartbeat of your defense and your offensive line. They lost both of them, still won a Super Bowl. It doesn't matter. They have a formula and they stick to it. So the San Francisco 49ers really have to, if they want to get better, this is not a sprint. This is a long-term race, especially when you lock in your franchise quarterback. They have to continue to build through the draft and not give up assets and not take home run swings in free agency. That is not how you're going to get better and create long-term viability.
Great answer. Love that ansser. I do want to also point out that Saquon Barkley and Mekhi Becton were 2 genius additions as well.
They were.
But that was a great answer. I love that. Who's next?
I'll go. I think, although I think Jesse's correct, I'm going to take it a different direction. I think there's 2 free agents that I would like the 49ers to bring in, along with building through the draft. This is a really good draft for defensive tackle standpoint. I just read somebody's article had them 24 defensive tackles as starters in this draft, which is a great sign for the 49ers, and they should draft 2 of them. But I would also bring in DJ Jones. I know we talked about it before, but he is a top 3 run stuffer in the NFL last year. I would bring him back. And then on the other side of the ball, right in the same place, I would bring in the guy that we talked about it when Coach hosted the 4-man front, Drew Dahlman. He has ties with the San Francisco 49ers. He's perfect for this zone run scheme that the 49ers run. So to me, we're talking about building in the trenches. Those are two veterans that can help with that immediately. DJ Jones, top run stuffer. Drew Dahlman, one of the best run zone centers in the NFL. I think you bring in those two guys as centerpieces on both both sides of the line of scrimmage, and then add in the depth through the draft. I mean, that's the one thing that worries me about this team is they had a good draft last year, but they really haven't nailed it so much in the earlier rounds in the past. And so I'm a little worried whether or not they do a good job in this coming draft. I'm hopeful.
Coach.
Hi, guys.
Yeah, great. So definitely Drew Dahlman. I mean, that's been somebody that I've been standing on the table for all off season. I believe that it's an immediate fix. 26 years old, definitely ready to come in and plug and play and start immediately for us. But for me, I think that we're kind of missing the mark on something that you mentioned earlier in the show, Grant, is that we've got to find another corner. At the very least, we got to find a number 2 corner if we think that Deommodore Lenoir is going to be our number 1. Travarius Ward is not coming back. I think that's kind of like the elephant in the room, or maybe because it was just so abrupt of him saying how he feels about this place mentally. We got to find a number 1 corner. For me, it's going to be hard to find corners in this year's draft that I would agree with. Right now, in the top 50, as far as corners are concerned, there's maybe 5. All right. I would go with Will Johnson, Travis Hunter, which are definitely out of our league. Benjamin Morris, which is a first-round guy, definitely out of our league. You maybe got Siobhan Rivet or Jahadi Barron out of Texas. Outside of that, you're really looking at maybe a rookie to come in here, or you're looking at a second-year Renardo Green to come in, and who knows what you're going to get out of what's the kid that we got? Darrell Luter Jr. Dante Jackson, corner out of Pittsburgh Steelers, is going to be a free agent coming up. I think that this is somebody that we could bring in for us. He's 29 years old, all right? He won't hit his 30s until November, all right? And one thing about him is that he's going to come cheap, definitely cheaper than what we did with Deommodore Lenoir. I'm telling you right now, for a 2 to 3 year deal, you could be a workable deal that we could fit him in at $52 million probably, and get him in at some really good money. He's looking for a deal, and I think that could be somebody that could be a good stopgap for us to help us out in the secondary. Right now, we're also got to make a decision at free safety. I think that this year's draft is a very strong safety draft, which is weird because safeties are always kind of hit or miss in the draft. But this year's draft, there's a lot of day 2, day 3 guys that I like in Andrew Makuba, Malachi Moore out of Alabama. But right now, as far as a corner that we can depend on taking on number 1s and X's at week in and week out, I wouldn't be mad at Dante Jackson. But if we really wanted to swing for the fences as far as safety is concerned, we could really get better with trying to swing hard at Javon Harlan, safety out of Miami Dolphins. We bring him in, and as far as free safety is concerned, that's a done deal. Him matched with Malik Mustafa, we immediately don't have problems. We got a true center fielder. So right now, I think that if we did something at safety, maybe we could get better immediately with Javon Harlan, but that corner spot for me, it seems like it's something that we need to get handled in free agency rather than the draft, due to the fact that it's a pretty thin DB draft at corner.
Well, to Jesse's point, I do think the Niners are going to try to spend most of their efforts in the draft here. I don't know if they're going to do another like Javon Hargrave style contract. Now they signed Lenoir, so I don't know if they're going to sign another. They could sign like another Isaac Yiadom type corner, but I don't know if they'll sign another corner to a big contract, which is why Ward's going to leave. And then if Afunga's going to leave, I don't know if they'll sign a safety who's more expensive than him. They probably won't. So look, I'm going to try to Howie Roseman this one. If you're going to sign someone in free agency, you don't have a lot of money to spend because most of it has to go to Kittle and Purdy. So what's a position that can have a high impact at a low price that the Niners had a problem at last year?
Tight end
running back. About running back. Because again, so much depends on Christian McCaffrey. If he goes down again, if he's not great, where is this team going? So
Jordan Mason's probably gone.
Yeah, Jordan Mason's probably gone. Isaac Guerendo's cool, but you don't really know what he can give you. What about if you went out and gave Aaron Jones a 1-year contract? It wouldn't be that expensive. Now you'd be spending a hell of a lot of money at running back. He in and of himself wouldn't be super expensive. And he can do a lot of the things you do with Christian McCaffrey. If McCaffrey goes, he can catch passes. He fits your system. He just came. I mean, he knows the verbiage essentially, having been in, playing for Kevin O'Connell and LaFleur. I don't know. It wouldn't be a lot. It's a guy who could potentially give the Niners 1,000 yards if McCaffrey doesn't play and, play for $7 million.
Do you think Kyle will actually rotate running backs this year? Do you think that's a possibility?
No. I don't know. You know what? This year it may be. I don't know. There's a lot of names on this year's staff where is there a world where Kyle kind of is on his best behavior because he can't be the squeaky wheel. He can't be the sore thumb. You got Gus Bradley here. You got Robert Saleh. We all feel great about them being here. There's going to be a little bit of rejuvenation on the defense side of the ball. Could we possibly see some wrinkles out of Kyle as far as process?
I hope so.
No, I thought that last year.
It's a hot. It is a hot season for Kyle.
He's gonna, like
Kubiak's gonna come with the fresh ideas.
You can't be 6-11 and then come back and be 6-11. So they got it. Whatever they got to figure it out. Yeah.
Hey, maybe he will. Maybe Kyle. We'll see Kyle 2.0. I'd be cool. Let's talk Deebo though. Deebo Samuel wants out. Where do you think he will end up, and what do you think the Niners will get for him? I want to know what you guys think. Who's going first?
Go ahead, Coach. You've finished up the rotation.
First, Coach.
I don't see anything more than a fourth, and that'd be Rich. Right now, your last tape is your best tape, unfortunately. And I understand that Deebo Samuel has a lot of attributes. He is a tough runner, physical, definitely an emotional leader. And those are all of the good things that I could say about him. But all of that was about 2 to 3 years ago. He's injury prone. And from that standpoint, I don't necessarily think that he's disciplined. And I question his equity around the league. Like who can he talk to in order to be able to get a good deal? Because they're sending him out first. The only teams that I would honestly see Deebo going to will possibly be a Miami because of fit. He will be able to fit into the offense. But I can honestly see him going somewhere where the culture is already built in and they don't need him to be a leader. They just need him to be a contributor, like a Pittsburgh, right? Where the culture of the team is already set in. I could see maybe Baltimore possibly taking fielders on Deebo, where that's a very strong culture before they would take him in. I don't see any smaller teams taking on Deebo, or not smaller, but teams that are, not necessarily that successful. I don't see them taking on Deebo because I see that's when Deebo would necessarily want to take on, try to get his money. Most teams that would take Deebo on, they were kind of, I hate to say this, but they would use him at a lesser role than what he was used here. They would bastardize his skill set. If you're going to be here, you're going to be a now route guy. You're going to be a package guy. We're going to use you out of the backfield. We're going to fold you into what we already do. So as far as established offenses, I could see almost kind of like a Detroit or maybe a Green Bay Packers taking a shot on Deebo. So maybe run first teams that need a little bit of a wrinkle to their process of how they get things done. But they definitely already have a for sure running threat. They've got a number one and a number two. I don't think anybody would take Deebo on as like a for sure number one or number two right now.
I think, we can add Denver to the mix as well. There's obviously mutual interest very early on. We saw on his IG post that he liked a picture of him in a Broncos uniform. Then he was talking about how good he thinks the Broncos are going to be this year. And then there are rumors behind the scenes that they've reached out. So we can throw them in the mix. I agree with Coach, though. Those are the types of teams that will do it. But if we have to narrow it down to one team just for the sake of doing it, why don't we go with the Jacksonville Jaguars? They are interviewing currently. somebody from the 49ers front office to potentially be their GM. That's an easy move. You go over there, you bring in one of your guys right away, and you do it for a 5th-round pick. And I think I look at that receiving core over there. They could definitely use some help. They could definitely use some offensive versatility. So let's go with the Jacksonville Jaguars for a 5th-round pick.
Historically speaking, where do good 49ers go to die?
The Raiders.
The Raiders. And all they got over there is Jacoby Myers, Terrace Marshall. They could use a wide receiver, and historically that happens quite often. It wouldn't surprise me to see Deebo go over there. Pete Carroll is very familiar with Prime and Deebo Samuel. So maybe that image of Deebo running all over the Seahawks back in the day sticks with him. But if something about the Ravens just seems like it would be a good fit for Deebo Samuel. I think he could be a weapon in that offense. Backyard football. Yep. Backyard football with Lamar Jackson. I could see Deebo succeeding.
You might even get in shape for that team.
In shape, right. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah.
In shape, Deebo would almost give them like a Zay Flowers with teeth. Mm-hmm. Right, that would allow Zay Flowers to kind of open up his route tree, and then Deebo can take all of the intermediate to shallow stuff. So,
rushing attack with him and Lamar and Derrick Henry would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, Deebo. Like to be honest, he would be used as more of an H-back kind of tight end too.
He'd have to go to a team with a coach that he really respects, who would challenge him.
He would have to block.
That he respected Kyle like that, and I don't think that Kyle ever really challenged him like that. I think Kyle said, "Pretty please with sprinkles on top, will you be in shape?" I think Sean Payton would challenge him. I think John Harbaugh would challenge him. I think Lamar Jackson would challenge him. So I don't know if he has it in him, but if he has one more great year in him, I think Baltimore could get it. I would think that Washington would want him.
No,
I would think that maybe Adam Peters would feel like, I know this guy. You know, maybe it is Kyle Shanahan's fault. You bring him into a team with Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury, he'll respect them, he'll play better. But I don't know that the Niners would trade with Adam Peters. I feel like John Lynch is like, I'm not going to let you show me up. So what about the Chargers? Harbaugh
seems like he would like him, and so does Roman. Seems like a
Harbaugh guy. I mean, either one, John or Jim, kind of fits there.
Somebody in the chat said Debo's built like a pupusa.
I read earlier like that. You just had food.
I read earlier someone said he looks like the Hamburglar. I think that's crazy. He's built like the Hamburglar.
That's fair. Well, here, according to BetUS, these are the odds. The Commanders are the favorites at plus 300. Then the Chargers plus 400. Panthers. I'm not mad at Deebo, but if I wouldn't be mad at the Panthers, that would make me laugh. Sorry.
That's where he's from. He's from Carolina, right?
They need it, Carolina. And do you know there's also a South Carolina connection there? You know, the receivers out of there, over there too.
He shipped all his cars. Good. He shipped all his cars and belongings to.
What's
Carolina.
His name? Xavier Legette.
He did.
Yeah,
Xavier Legette. Okay. So he's from there, and Bryce Young played pretty well at the end of the season.
Yeah,
they could pay him.
And he needs kind of like a pace horse, somebody that can get the ball too quick. Xavier Legette's issue is that he's a long guy, but he doesn't do well with short intermediate routes. That could be kind of Debo's wheelhouse over there. They got the money for him too.
And he'd be a big fish in a small pond, which I think he would probably.
Which they would love. He'd be right in Charlotte. Yep.
Okay, cool. I'm putting $10 on the Panthers. I like that one.
Good call,
that could be an interesting one. And I think he would enjoy it. He'd get a lot of targets.
Yeah.
He could get more targets than he's ever had.
He would.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's stick with betting. Aaron Rodgers will not be back with the Jets. It looks like they're going to release him. He can go wherever he wants. You look in BetUS. I'll do it right now. Let's go back to BetUS. Let's check out. Let's go back to the videotape.
Tell him what he's won, Cheryl.
Aaron Rodgers. Okay, you're looking. The Steelers have even odds. So they're the favorite to get him. Although if you look at on BetUS, who's most likely to be the Steelers quarterback week 1 is still Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. But anyway, Aaron Rodgers, even odds to be the Steelers quarterback week 1. Second best odds, the Niners at plus 300. Then the Saints. Then the Raiders. What do you make of that? Is that just, a sucker's bet for Niner fans who don't know no better, or do the insiders know something?
I don't see him coming to the 49ers. They passed on Brady at this kind of similar time in his career. I think they'll pass on Aaron Rodgers. Maybe it's up there just because he's from the Northern California and he grew up a Niner fan. And maybe some people doubt whether or not the 49ers believe 100% in Brock Purdy, but they shouldn't because they definitely are going to be extending Brock Purdy. So I don't see it happening.
I'm going to tell you now, Aaron Rodgers has Raiders written all over him. He's going to they need a quarterback. They got Gardner Minshew right now. They're in a no man's land in the draft at pick 6. Okay. They're way too deep, to miss out on Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, right? Either Cleveland's going to take a stab at him or Tennessee's going to take a stab at him or the Giants. I'm telling you, and Tom Brady is a part of the ownership group over there, and I'm telling you, it just seems like the perfect marriage. I think that Aaron Rodgers is going to the Raiders. They need a quarterback. It's going to be the perfect situation for him to kind of air the ball out, which is kind of weird because Devontae Adams just left the Raiders. So it's going to be very awkward, but that's my take. I think that Aaron Rodgers is going to the Raiders.
Real quick.
I think he's going to the Steelers. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jesse. No, Jared made a good point, though. Robert Saleh's on the coaching staff of the 49ers. Aaron Rodgers is not coming over here. So go ahead.
I love that. I love that.
He could always get Saleh fired for the second time.
Yeah, the whole Aaron Rodgers thing, I think that's a lazy wagering right there. To me, it doesn't make any sense. The 49ers aren't in the market for a starting quarterback. Robert Saleh was just here. There's no way. I mean, the connection is and always will be there with the 49ers passing on him and all those other things. I actually think there's a better chance he ends up with the Rams than the 49ers. If the Rams trade Stafford, watch him go play for the Rams. Devontae Adams will go with them. They'll go hang out in LA and play in a dome.
That's a good one.
I think he wants to play in a dome if possible. He wants to play for a contender, or he'll just retire.
That's a good call,
I would
Jess.
say Steelers or Rams is where I see him going.
I like the Rams one. I like that. That
Could you imagine Kyle walking into a coach's meeting saying, all right, now hear me out. I got an idea. Rob, calm down. Aaron Rodgers. Now, I know you guys may have had some problems, but I think he could be the next Joe Montana. Could you imagine that conversation?
No, frankly.
But
maybe they didn't have any issues. Yeah.
Okay. Here's why I think this is a thing. Here, I don't think it's totally random, and I don't think it's just trying to take advantage of naive Niner fans or football fans in general. I think Rodgers and Devontae Adams want to play on the same team again. I think they're a package deal. And don't forget that not only is Rodgers from Northern California, so is Adams. He's from Palo Alto.
Grant, what are you
think
doing?
the two of them would love to play for the Niners. They look like a good team. They're an older team. They're their hometown team. I could see them wanting to play. I could see them wanting to play for a bunch of teams. I could see them wanting to play for the Steelers and the Rams, but there is a little bit of a connection here with the Niners, at least hometown wise. Doesn't mean the Niners want them, but it doesn't mean they don't. I'm just saying.
Okay. You're leaving a little bit of room for crazy, so I'll indulge you. Number one, the Raiders are completely out because Devontae's not coming back, right? Devontae would never go back to the Raiders.
Right.
But if you can accept that point, then you can also accept the fact that there's no way in hell that Aaron Rodgers is coming here because of Robert Saleh.
Oh, he could gloat in Saleh's face. How you doing, buddy? How you like being a defensive coordinator?
They just called the man the head coach of the defense. Like, come on.
He wouldn't even be in Saleh. He wouldn't even be in Aaron Rodgers' orbit. He'd be a defensive coordinator talking to the defense. But that's a good point. I don't know. Do they definitely have a bad? Maybe Robert Saleh would tell Kyle Shanahan, "Don't bring this guy here.
We don't know that.
Bring this guy here."
Yeah,
Again,
we don't
I'm not
know
saying
that.
the Niners want him.
We don't know that.
Have a bad relationship.
We don't know that, but
I don't know. We know that.
You can read body language, and it didn't look good. I'll put it that way.
Aaron Rodgers rolls his eyes at everyone.
There's another thing.
He likes Devontae Adams, and that's it.
There's another thing with this 49ers and Aaron Rodgers bit. Kyle and Aaron Rodgers together.
Yeah,
He
I
would
don't
get
think
Kyle
it's
fired.
happening. I don't think it's happening. I just don't think that Robert Saleh would necessarily be the reason why it doesn't happen. It could be, and there could be bad blood there, but we don't know that for sure. He got fired so early into the season, and he seemed shocked by it. Sounds like they, at least from Rodgers' standpoint, they had a good relationship. Now we don't know how true that is or is not. I don't see the 49ers in the market for a starting quarterback, and I don't see Aaron Rodgers playing unless he's going to be the starter somewhere. So
that is true.
Again, I can see him wanting to come here. I just don't think that the Niners would want him. I mean, for a lot of reasons.
Yeah. Well, how do you bring a guy in like Aaron Rodgers while you're trying to get Brock Purdy signed? Like,
it would demoralize the locker room if they signed Aaron Rodgers and traded Brock Purdy.
If things fall apart, if things fell apart with negotiations, then that would be on the table to me, maybe, but not really.
Now, if Rodgers retires, and Brock Purdy gets hurt 4 games into the season, I could see it happening. Right? But
like how they almost got Phillip Rivers, or who was it?
Right.
Ben Roethlisberger.
I think it was Phillip Rivers.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. This won't go away, and I know it sounds ridiculous, but I do think the Niners could also use it in contract negotiations. They offer $45 million, and Brock says, "What are you talking about? I'm worth 60." And they're like, "Okay, but Aaron Rodgers would play for 35. So why are you twice as better than Aaron Rodgers? I don't understand."
You do raise a good point, though, Grant. We've been talking about all of the contract negotiations that are happening with Brock Purdy possibly getting his extension this offseason. And we've heard reports that it's all but, as good as gold. Like, it's going to happen. Like, damn near a done deal. Well, where is the leveraging power for the organization? Like, what do they have up their sleeve if Brock does drive a harder bargain than they expected? It seems as though that the organization is coming into the negotiations as if, hey, we're willing to give you what you need. So there really isn't a conversation right now. This is a foregone conclusion. But have they covered all their bases? If Brock does have a agent that says, look, we already got these guys at 58 plus, damn near 60. You want to go 63? You want to go 62? Then we can kind of push this. What do the Niners have? I mean, are they completely going into this, like, for lack of a better term, assed out? Like, hey, we're willing to just give you whatever.
You know what I think they have? I think they have the ability, if they really wanted to say, hey, you're still in contract, dude. Like, take it or leave it. That's what I would do, honestly.
And I
don't buy that.
We have options.
I don't. But wait a minute.
You can't hold us hostage.
I don't buy 100%. That because they look so unorganized for them to literally just basically leave their quarterback at the altar. They've been putting out.
They're not
like
going
they haven't been kind of leaning towards we're going to sign Brock. The reports that have been coming out have been like he's going to get his money. We are not waiting to pay him at all. So for them to back off and say, in a way, the Niners are kind of cornering themselves from even having that conversation without looking like they're dishonest brokers. Do you see where I'm coming from? It's like, those are just 2 different ends of the spectrum. How do you go from he's definitely going to get paid, get ready for the money that you're going to see out of him, to, well, he asked for 1 penny more than we expected, and he's got to play out his contract. You don't really look solid or balanced as an organization. Go ahead, Jess.
I disagree because and I don't think it's going to get there, by the way. This is not the prediction. But if it did get there and they walked away from negotiations and said, just threw our hands up and walked away, listen, we tried our best. Guys, we told you all offseason we were willing to make him the highest paid quarterback. We want him here long term. But at some point, it just gets unreasonable. Like, we tried. We offered him the most. We offered him everything that we thought he would want. And he said no. So we got to turn. Season's here. We got to go. So we're ready for the season. That's how they save face, because all along the way, they've told everybody, guys, we're going to pay him. We're going to make him the highest paid. So if a deal doesn't get struck, it's not on us. It's on Brock and his
He's
team.
greedy.
So
he's phony. He's fake. He made us think that he was this altruistic, religious kid that just wanted to play football. Turns out he wants to be he has an ego just like everyone else. We didn't know. We got duped.
Okay.
That could happen.
That.
I mean,
it's nice to have Aaron Rodgers as a negotiating chip. In your
but I'm
back
going to say,
pocket,
okay, so what's the tangible leverage? Okay, but that's the narrative.
Yeah.
What would I'm helping you out, Grant, because right now the Aaron Rodgers scenarios just seems kind of like crackpot in a sense. But what would the Niners' tangible leverage be? That's the narrative. But
I just didn't invent the Aaron Rodgers scenario out of thin air. You can wager it, and I just think it does seem ridiculous that the Niners would be second. Why? And to me, the only thing that makes sense is it's something Rodgers thinks he wants right now.
Okay,
it's something Adams thinks he wants right now. It's not necessarily something the Niners would be open to. In fact, I don't think Kyle would be open to it. I don't think Fred Warner would be open to it. I don't think the organization would be open to it. I don't think it's what they want. It's something they could use in the negotiation with Brock, but I think they've made it clear they want Brock. Would you really want to pick 41-year-old quarterback who can't move and thinks 9/11 was a conspiracy, or Brock? I mean, it's easy. That's easy.
That's an easy answer, but I guess my main point is that what is their tangible leverage? What if Brock says, no, I'm not willing to go along with this. I'm going to do me. It's not necessarily Josh Dobbs or Brandon Allen.
Cousins is a free agent. Darnold is a free agent.
So I guess that's the big
Fields is a free agent. I
guess that's the bigger question is what are the Niners going to do all of those are free agents, but they're not bird in hand. So I guess the next question is like, what are the Niners going to do to have tangible leverage in contract negotiations where they say, hey, if this isn't going to work, fine, we're going to go to X. It damn sure isn't going to be Brandon Allen or Josh Dobbs.
Here's what I think they're going to do, Coach. I think they are going to sign one of these quarterbacks before the contract is done as leverage and as a backup plan because there's a ton of good decent free agent quarterbacks out there, and the 49ers need one. They can't roll into the season with Brandon Allen as their backup quarterback. Dobbs doesn't want to be here. They are going to make a move on one of these quarterbacks, and if they do that before the contract is done being negotiated, then they have that leverage that you're talking about.
Yep. You want leverage? Go get Jimmy G. No, I was kidding.
That's right, baby. Game changer. He really likes Kyle Shanahan's offense and his plays. Thinks they're great.
Super good. Awesome.
So good. Dave Barclay says, I rap all the words to Ice Ice Baby even today. At 42.
At 42.
It's a great song. I listened to it this morning. It's so much better than Under Pressure by Queen. I can't stress that enough. Dave Barclay says, is it late? Is it late second sports slowing us up? What the hell, Jesse?
It wasn't me. I'm not going to say who it was. It wasn't me. It wasn't me like Shaggy. No.
Poop Saget says, hi, Grant. Hi, Jesse. Hi, Coach. Hi, Ryan. And he did that just so I would say his name. Thank you very much, Poop Saget. Juan Carlos Montano says, Grantavious Cohn, Papusa King. Thank you very much. All Day Everyday Kim says, Brock fans punched the air like Trey after Hurts and Eagles bodied the Chiefs, and he won the MVP. If you know what I'm talking about. And I think it's funny, the Chief Purdy Glazer, who we know, just instead of actually acknowledging Hurts, just went right over to Mahomes and started bashing Mahomes because that's what we do. Crazy Rod 16 says, why can't we do the same thing Washington did with Kirk Cousins with his deal? Franchise him every year until the top 5 or win a Super Bowl. Teams haven't done that since Washington did it, I've noticed.
No, they haven't.
It makes it
probably
weird.
More expensive.
It makes it weird too.
Yeah.
I mean, I was here for that. The Skins were a dumpster fire then. They didn't have a culture to keep at that moment. So they just were kind of like, F the world, FTW. They were doing whatever
Snyder
they wanted.
on the way out.
Yo, Dan Snyder was just
to the DMV and the NFL and all of it. Yeah,
he didn't care.
God, he was not a good owner. There's some good Jewish owners. He was not one of them.
I have to take exception with you thinking that Under Pressure is not better than Ice Ice Baby.
I feel very strongly about that.
You're kind of tripping. Queen Under Pressure.
How long is Under Pressure as a song?
Queen is
first of all,
better.
I love long tracks. Pause. I love long tracks. So
you really listen
better
to
than
Under
Vanilla
Pressure
Ice.
all the way through?
Yeah,
all the way through.
Oh, how many times have you heard Under Pressure on the radio and just rocked it? Come on.
I mean, I might sing along with it for like the first half of verse, but after that, it's like, dude, this is a really long song.
It's a bop though. Like Under Pressure by Queen is a bop. Like Under Pressure. I mean, Ice Ice Baby is just like
A bop, the ultimate bop.
side.
Yeah.
I would dance to Ice Ice Baby. Under Pressure, I might be like, oh yeah, it's a good song. You know, seen it in a lot of movies. Okay, speaking of music, let's talk.
Listen.
Super Bowl halftime show. This was just as big of like a talking point as the game itself, maybe even more, because the game sucked. The game was boring. The Super Bowl halftime show was kind of controversial. It's the most watched halftime show of all time, and a bunch of people with podcasts rushed to their platform to tell everyone how much they didn't like it and how boring it was and how they couldn't understand what he was saying. I'd like to know what you guys think. Did you think it was good? Did you think it was mid? Did you think it was whack? And why?
I'll start. I'll wait till Jessie gives us. I know me and Jessie go back and forth. I don't think you're not the biggest Kendrick guy. I don't think, but I'm a big Kendrick fan. I think Kendrick is the best modern day rapper in the last 10 years. For me personally, I listen to all of his albums, and so I loved it because I knew every song, and I'm just a big Kendrick fan. Now, if you didn't know Kendrick and you didn't know his music, you know, forget the political stuff. Like if you weren't even paying attention to that and you're just watching from an entertainment standpoint, Kendrick is a really, really good rapper. Again, I think he's the best modern day rapper that there is. Not necessarily an entertainer, right? Like he's not going to go out there and put on a performance necessarily.
He's not going to dance like Vanilla Ice. No.
Right. But his lyrics, like if you know his music and you know his lyrics, then you love that show. Right. If you didn't, it's not like super ultra entertaining, his performance, if you weren't paying attention to like the political part of it.
Rap music is my favorite music, but I think rap music live is the worst concert to view. It just is. So that's number one. You got that going against it. Number two, I am not a fan of Kendrick Lamar, the musician. However, I respect Kendrick, and I think Kendrick is he's like a performance arts major. He can tell a story without any words. And so I will say that the story that he told without the music even being involved was A1. Whether you agree with it politically or not is outside the question. For me, he was able to tell a story all the way through without the music even being involved. And I think that's really, really hard to do. I'm not a fan of the music itself, but I thought the halftime show, because of everything involved, was pretty good. I'm not a Kendrick fan, and I'm not a live rap fan. I went and saw Lil Wayne when I was in LA. I love Lil Wayne, but it was awful. The concert was terrible.
Yeah. I hate when they have like three people backing them up at rap concerts when they're all like, and it's like, doesn't sound like
good live music. It's not good live music. To me, it's not good live music.
What do you think, Coach?
As far as like, watching it, I agree with Jessie. Kendrick, he puts a lot on the palette. So it could be a little bit of like sensory overload with what he's trying to do all at one time. He's trying to entertain. He's trying to send a message. He's trying to give hidden jewels. He's trying to give lyrics, and he's trying to be like an entertainer all at once. And sometimes you can look at it in a sense of there's art, and then there's the guys that have the spinning canvas with the paint, and then they just throw the paint over it and they come up with like a beautiful image.
I love those guys.
And it's subjective, right? Yeah. I think that Kendrick does himself a disservice by kind of making you try to drink from the fire hose. It's way too much at the same time. He doesn't really do a good job at pacing things out. One thing I will say is that as far as like the hidden jewels were concerned, is the imagery of the performance, A1. Turning the entire field into a controller with saying that you were inside of the game, using Samuel Jackson as a narrator throughout the entire performance, telling him that, his first set was more of his harder songs, more of his more deep indie songs, and Samuel Jackson chiming in to let him know that what he was doing was not what people wanted to see. It was too ghetto. Kendrick Lamar, then switching to Luther, which was more of a softer song, which more of his mainstream songs. But then there were just a lot of different things. There was, if you're into tarot cards, there was a hanging man reference in there with the guy hanging from the street light. There was definitely a lot of different references to Drake directly, which is, in my opinion, I love a good rap battle. I'm a URL fan. I'm a King of the Dot fan. I'm a RBE fan. But, dude, a battle is a battle. If he's dead, he's dead. Like, leave it alone at some point. But I just thought that the stage was way too big to try to, and there were way too many people to try to please at that moment. And Kendrick is not a forgiving artist where he doesn't sacrifice his art to necessarily curry favor with the mass audience. So I gave it a solid B, because I have enough awareness to understand that there were some parts that other people may just not feel. Just because I thought they were good, they didn't necessarily land it. And lastly, Kendrick is, he has a dynamic style, and doing all of the hard cuts and switching angles and trying to have all of that imagery on a 100-yard football field outside of what he usually does, which is in a controlled studio, it was hard to pull off. So that's what I thought about it. He did his best, but he didn't execute.
I thought he executed. I thought he did exactly what he was invited to do that performance for one reason, and I thought he nailed it. If they want, like, people be like, oh, he didn't dance, he's not entertaining. Man, everyone wanted to see him call Drake a pedo on TV. And he did it. Okay. He did it all year. If they wanted a pop star, they could have invited Drake. They could have invited Usher for the third time. They could have invited Rihanna. They didn't want a pop star. And the reason this was the most viewed halftime show ever is because it's the guy who took down the biggest pop star in the world. And he did it in a rap song that everyone loves to dance to. The whole world's been dancing on Drake's grave all year, and everyone loves to sing the A minor part. Everyone. It's like a craze, and he did a great job of like teasing it, building anticipation. If he had just gone out there and done like 8 of his biggest hits in a medley for 20 minutes, it would have had no impact and everyone would have forgot it. If he had played All Right and Humble, it's like, yeah, those are your big hits, but you're here because you took down Drake this year. And so what he did is he played a bunch of songs off his new album, played his new music, and then he did the song. And everyone, it's like, it's shocking to watch him say it. And he did it at the Grammys. He did it at the Super Bowl. They keep letting him call Drake that word. It's crazy. So I don't know. I thought it was really, really cool. And it was a Kendrick. I've never been to a Kendrick concert. It looked like a big Compton Kendrick concert. Do you understand how bad some of these Super Bowl halftime shows have been in the past? Just a few years ago, there was Maroon 5, Travis Scott, and Big Boy together for no good reason. Before that, Coldplay, Beyonce, and Bruno Mars together on the same stage for no fucking reason. Katy Perry, Lenny Kravitz, and Missy Elliott, the trio. So at least it was like cohesive. It was the #1 song of the year, and it was different than any halftime show. I mean, I didn't watch Usher last year and Will.i.am. Like this, everyone watched this for the same reason. He won all the Grammys because he called Drake a pedo, and that was kind of wild. Can't believe he did it, and they let him do it.
I mean, that's what I'm saying, though. Like, I feel like he tried to do way more than just call Drake a pedophile. Like, you know what I mean?
He had to do the whole. It's not Kendrick,
and that's what I'm saying. Like,
meaning.
Like, I get that was like, I get it. Like, on the surface, yes, the main, and I love you for this, Grant, because you keep the main thing the main thing. On the surface, this entire halftime show was, are you gonna play Not Like Us, and are you gonna officially say his name? There were 3 things. Are you gonna play Not Like Us? Are you gonna say his name? Are you gonna call him a PDF? Those were the 3, and he teased it throughout the entire performance. But for me, I saw so much more that he was trying to get across. True. And it was like, None of that
And that's
landed.
Kendrick for me. It's like, to me, it's like Kendrick has a killer song, not like us. Squabble Up. And it's like, it's not enough that he just made the best single. He has to make an album with 8 layers of double meaning. It's like, nah, man, you make great singles. There's no shame in making
Grant,
great singles.
Does it ever occur to you that you don't get Not Like Us if Kendrick doesn't do the deep shit?
True. All I'm saying is, the way I consume Kendrick is I love his singles. And then when he puts out an album, I listen to it and I'm like, yeah, he tried really super hard on that one. Respect. I'm not going to listen to it again per se, but I will have a playlist of my favorite Kendrick Lamar songs that I will go to frequently because I think he makes great singles. I mean, Squabble
So let
Up's
me
a
ask you
great
this.
song.
Do you listen to rap outside of wanting to have a good time?
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think I also like an effortlessness in my art, no matter if it's rap or whatever it is. And I kind of get turned off when someone's like, I'm serious. I'm an artiste. This is like, okay, man, got it. Yeah, you tried super hard, dude. But like some people make really cool art and there's like an effortlessness to it, which I'm drawn to. But that's just personal taste.
I just wish you would have played Money Trees. That would have made it better. Money Trees
would have hit.
Yeah,
it would have.
But the fact that, like, honestly, he did hit the mark, though. As far as, like, execution was, as far as him landing everything, I felt like it was on different levels. But if you want to get to, like, did he accomplish the mission? He accomplished the mission. Said his name, looked into the screen.
Like, he's not going to do it. He's not going to do it.
For sure.
He's not going to do it. Drake, Drake was watching like, he's not going to do it. He's not going to play it. Okay, they're playing it, but he's not going to say my name. Okay, he said my name.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's rough. Anyway, and I don't know why everyone takes so much pleasure in Drake getting taken down like that, because he was the number 1 pop star in the world for like 15 years. I guess people were just tired of him. I don't know.
People love to see the person on top fall off. No
It's
matter
true,
who it
right?
is.
They build people up to tear them down. Happened to Britney
Look
Spears.
how happy people were that the Chiefs lost. Same.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
Right.
Well, that was fun to talk about. Next week, we're going to be on Ryan's show, and we're only going to talk about Kendrick Lamar the whole time.
Well,
100%.
Next week, we are on my channel, and we're not talking 49ers. So sorry to disappoint those of you who want to hear 49ers. Next week on my channel, we're talking about whatever the hell we want to talk about. So tune in.
Dave Barclay says halftime show was wiggity, wiggity, whack.
Wiggity.
When I think of wiggity, wiggity, whack, I always think of like the old DOS Effects flow. Remember DOS Effects from like the early 90s?
Nah, crisscross.
That's crisscross.
Sure. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. That's crisscross, huh? That's true. Sir Cash Money says we are so spoiled for halftime shows. We can go back to Disney doing figure skating for halftime shows if y'all want. I mean, hold on. This list of let's go back to this is 1999, okay? No, wait, hold on. Let's do 2000. 2000 was better. Phil Collins, Christina Aguilera, Enrique Iglesias, Tony Braxton, and an 80-person choir. 1999.
That's crazy.
That really happened.
Yeah.
Someone thought of that shit. They were like, no. We need a choir too.
The illest Super Bowl halftime was Prince. That was an ill-ass halftime show.
Yes.
When Prince did the halftime show, and Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson was fire.
Well, for one reason and one reason only.
But it was fire, though.
Here's the thing. Can I say something? I feel like Prince is the one American artist that pretty much everyone likes or loves. Mm-hmm. And
if you don't like
he were
Prince,
still alive,
something's wrong with
call him
you.
out there every year, and people be like, "Fuck yeah, Prince, let's go!" Everyone.
Never want to cause you any pain. Come on, man. Prince.
You know what I mean? He just, for people who are like, oh, you got to play the instruments yourself. He does that, and he's a performer, and he's a great singer, and he's
can play hoop, and he can play hoop.
Oh,
That
2012
pancakes.
Madonna.
Yeah.
2000.
2011 was fire
was
too.
Stevie Wonder, Gloria Estefan, Big Bad Voodoo Daddy, and tap dancer Savion Glover. That happened.
They mix it up like that. Stevie Wonder could have done it by himself and been great.
2003 was Shania Twain, No Doubt, and Sting. Fuck me. How does that happen?
I don't know. It just took a hodgepodge and threw it
You know who
together.
needs a halftime show? Outkast needs to do.
Well, Big Boy was there. Yeah, Andre 3000 probably wouldn't do it. And if he did, he'd probably do like his ambient noise album from earlier this year.
Play the flute.
But I think it's funny after the debacle between Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson, the NFL went straight back to Boomer Town, dude. Paul McCartney, 2005. Rolling Stones, 2006.
2006.
Tom Petty, 2008. Bruce Springsteen, 2009. They went deep back. It's like we're only.
But keep it 1,000 though. They snapped back in 2011 though.
Hold on, let me see.
Black Eyed Peas.
Hell yeah. But then they just threw Slash in there for no reason.
I don't know what Slash, but you know what? Slash is kind of like Astor. It's like he kind of like passes for like ambiguity.
He's just
like,
on the stage playing guitar for no reason. 2014, Bruno Mars and the Red Hot Chili Peppers together. Because who doesn't want to see them at the same time?
That's a hell of a mix.
That's a
Justin
great mix.
Timberlake and the Tennessee Kids in 18.
Ugh, I don't remember that one. That must have been awful. God. Justin
Give me that 2020 lineup, Grant.
Okay, this one I was there for. This one was like kind of thematic because it was in Miami.
Okay.
Shakira, Jennifer Lopez, Bad Bunny, J Balvin, and Emmy Muniz. I'm not mad at that one.
Hey, anything with Jennifer
I'm not
Lopez.
mad at that one.
Was it fire?
Yeah.
You know, I was working, but Shakira will be fire when she's 70. Like,
Shakira.
Never really know that Chaka doesn't suck this. Okay, Bobo says, did we confirm that Serena was doing the crip walk during Not Like Us? Yeah, that was sea walking. That was definitely sea walking.
He should be
Dave
sea
Barclay
walking.
says, nah, it was okay, but Michael Jackson made a show. Well, Michael Jackson isn't here, okay, Dave?
Michael Jackson.
It's better than Usher for the fourth time. I didn't need to see Usher.
Hey, we did get Dre, M50,
True.
Snoop, and all of them a couple years ago. That was pretty good too.
What about Chris
2022.
Brown?
Yeah.
What about The Dream?
Hey, no. Hey, 2024 on the low. Usher, Alicia Keys, Jermaine Dupri, her, Will I Am, Lil Jon, and Ludacris.
You need six
That's our
featured
entire
artists in
college
20
career.
minutes.
That's our college life. That
Yeah.
entire lineup.
6 featured artists in 20 minutes? That's a parade.
That's when
I
they
don't know.
just throw a shit at the wall and see what's stuck.
They could have left Jermaine Dupri off of that list. They could have left him.
That's true. What was he gonna do?
I like Jermaine Dupri.
what
Carlos Montano says
He's not an
Kendrick's good.
artist.
Real rap fans liked him before he dissed, but he had to call out Drake to be relevant globally. If he never dissed Drake, he wouldn't be there. Also, it's way someone in rap needed to do this years ago. If Tupac were alive, he would have done this in 2011. So it's nice that Kendrick finally, took one for the culture.
Yo. How did The Weeknd hold down an entire set?
That was a terrible performance.
In 2021.
I didn't like it.
He's horrible. I can't
I don't
stand
like
his
That's
music.
bad.
He just ripped off The Dream. The Dream was first, and then The Weeknd took his whole. And again, another Canadian guy just stealing hardworking Americans. I don't like
Those
it.
damn Canadians.
I don't like it. And I think another thing why do people like Kendrick taking down Drake so much? Final thought.
He's not
Because
American.
Drake's kind of fake. He's Canadian, doing
an
an
actor.
American genre. He
acting.
doesn't write his own lyrics. He's a
acting like a
singer
rapper.
pretending to be a rapper. And
Yo,
it's nice
he
to have
pole
like,
jocks from click to click, man. If he want to be hot in Atlanta, he goes down in Atlanta. He want to be hot in Houston, he goes to
chameleon.
Houston. You know what I'm saying?
He was Wheelchair Jimmy or whatever the guy's name was. I mean, he's an actor, and it's nice to.
Minus the PDF file stuff, which could also.
Yeah, that's true. That you can't
He
just be
is-
saying
he's
that about
very-
people.
But he's.
I think that was a good enough excuse.
He's also very Puff Daddy remember Puff Daddy made all the hits back in the day, but he was taking samples from old songs. That's all that Drake did. He just took Puff Daddy's whole game, redid it 30 years later, and it was huge. He knew it'd be a hit.
Puff smacked him up for stealing too.
And I think Drake was getting a little. I feel like he picked the fight with Kendrick. Like Kendrick kind of
did.
poked him, and Drake was like, "Oh, this will be light work." Like, ooh,
You know what you know what the catalyst to all of this was, to be honest with you? There were light hits over the years. The biggest problem was Drake stepped out and did real life shit on wax. And he called out Kendrick's baby's mother. He talked about his family. Once he talked about his family and he said that your wife
he opened the door.
That's it. It's over. You said my wife's name on wax. There is nothing else. It is over.
Also,
for
one
you.
more thing. So in this battle all year, there were multiple diss tracks. But the thing about a diss track is it has to slap. It's got to have a great beat and a good chorus. It can't just be, slanderous. And Kendrick made some not so good ones. At least ones that aren't getting played. This one, when you hear that beat drop by Mustard, I mean, everyone loves it. So
Euphoria is crazy, Grant.
Yeah, but in like a rap canon thing, but like this is a hit, and this ended Drake's career largely because the beat is just so good and people freaking love dancing to it. I've never seen a song become the soundtrack to Dancing on Someone's Grave until then. That's the official. What does Dancing on Someone's Grave sound like? That song. First 2 seconds of it. Stephen Draper, Serena C walked at Wimbledon. Stephen Pryor says, I want to point out the roller coaster that is Kellen Moore's career. Beat by Cap at Boise. Got drafted. Flamed out. Fired as Cowboys OC. Won the Super Bowl and gets a head coach job just to hire Brandon Staley. Well put, Stephen. Because they already tried that combination with the Chargers. It didn't work. They got fired. Let's run it back one more time. Love it.
In reverse.
Guys, thank you very much for giving me an hour and 5 minutes of your time. Next week, we're going to be on Ryan's show talking about not football stuff. I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to this show, Ryan.
Yeah,
I'm hyped.
Yeah, me too, guys. I'm looking forward to
But
it.
if it's going to be about like real estate and like, serious stuff, I'm essentially a 19-year-old.
I'm ready to talk about so much more other than football, man.
Yeah.
Really.
I'm going to be like at the kids' table being like, yep, sounds good. Anyway,
We're not going to do
thanks
that.
for watching, guys.
Yeah.
See you next week.